Well, 8 hours of my life I'll never get back later, and we're here. It is finally the end of the 2020 NHL Draft. I'm exhausted, but I want to just get this video out of the way. And then relax for the last 3 hours of the night, before I go to bed. So, with day 2, it was a lot of nothing. I have written down every single trade that happened. We're not going to go through them all. It's a lot of just, oh, we're going to move up and get this, and we're going to move down and get this. Here's what happened, right? Let's start off with some contract stuff. We had a re-signing yesterday. I don't know if I brought it up, but I will bring it up here. Brendan Dillon here re-signs in Washington. Bit of a shocker to me personally. 4 years, $3.9 million AAV. Pricey, but he is a good shutdown defender. Dylan DeMello, as a right-hand shutdown defender, gets a 4-year deal at $3 million per year AAV. Yeah, that's really good for them, and it also takes that right-hand defender market, shrinks it down a little bit more. Kyle Turris and Steve Santini both get bought out today. Santini, I think, he only had 1 year left on his deal, but Turris had 4. That's $2 million, 8 for the next 8 years for the Preds. That's not going to be fun, but I think that was a necessary move that clears up cap. Interesting to see that they're still clearing up cap. I think they do have some things up their sleeves. I would not be surprised if they went into a last-ditch effort like, a Florida type mode where they try and go out there and sign some big names, Taylor Hall being one of them possibly. I think that could be an underrated location for Taylor Hall to end up. We then have Chandler Stevenson on a 4-year deal, $2.75 million per year. Very good year out in Vegas defensively and offensively. Good to see. And then Max Domi signs a 2-year deal worth $5.3 million per year in Columbus. A lot of people were hating on the Max Domi-Josh Anderson trade, and while I do believe Columbus won, I believe a lot of the criticism, because people are being like, oh my god, Montreal just gave up everything. That was one of the worst trades I've ever seen. It makes sense. It's logistical, and I really do think Josh Anderson has something to give to this Montreal team. So be patient before judging this trade as the worst trade in Montreal Canadiens history. Then we get to the actual draft. The actual big meat of the draft here, and we have some interesting moves off the bat. Really, there's a few draft picks I want to talk about, and 3 trades I want to talk about. We'll start with the trades. Actually, there's 4 trades. Trade number 1. Matt Murray is going to the Ottawa Senators in exchange for Jonathan Gruden and the 52nd pick in the draft. Matt Murray on a downswing year, not as good this year. And he's traded out after Tristan Jarry is signed, making Jarry the definitive number 1. Obviously, there's no one that's going to be competing with him now. Matt Murray, former 2-time Cup winner. That does give the Penguins an established starting goaltender, which I think is something that they do need right now, and now they have it. It is interesting to see what happens with Nilsson and Hodberg, because I believe both of them could be the backup goalie. I wonder if Nilsson gets moved out, or if Hodberg gets sent down, or if he gets moved out. We'll see what happens. Maybe they keep 3 goalies because you're going to need 3 goalies. I think that could be another feasible option as well. And then for Pittsburgh, I mean, you get a 2nd-round pick. I don't remember who they picked. Don't ask me to remember picks here. And they get Jonathan Gruden, who's a solid prospect. Then we have an interesting deal. The Nashville Predators trade out the New Jersey 2nd, a 3rd-round pick, 70th overall. So, by the way, 37th and 70th, along with Nick Bonino to Minnesota in exchange for Luke Kunin and a 4th. First things first, I think this is a win for both teams. I mean, Ryan O'Rourke was the pick of the Minnesota Wild. Or no, it was actually not him. It was Marat Kuts. I don't remember his last name, but he's a Russian forward. Russian centerman, sorry. You get the 70th overall pick, and I don't remember if they flipped that. Yeah, they flipped that and pick 132 for pick 65. I'm just reading on my notes here. Sorry about that. But at the end of the day, here's the deal. I don't get Minnesota. I thought they were going full rebuild mode, but now they're trying to go and get some good players. So I don't know exactly what they're doing. But Luke Kunin, you know, a young piece, I think Nashville could turn him into something. That being said, I really do like a few of the prospects that Minnesota got out of that deal. Um, the third trade, it's Toronto trading away the 44th pick in exchange for the 59th and 64th. The 44th pick turned into Tyler Cleven, which, by the way, it's a fairly big coup, in my opinion, that the Ottawa Senators got both Tyler Cleven and Jake Sanderson in this draft. Two shutdown level defensemen to add to that D-core already. Oh my god, that D-core is going to be insane in a couple years. It's going to be actually ridiculous. Toronto, meanwhile, with the 59th pick, select Ronnie Hirvonen, and with their other pick, they select a defender, Niemela. Both of them under 6 feet. Now, size isn't everything, of course, it's skill. It is very interesting to see Kyle Dubas come out and be like, we need to add more size, and then not address that concern in the draft. Now, I do understand what people are saying for the Leafs fans. We need size now. Blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing, and I actually point this out tomorrow in a video as well, my Oilers in-depth video, which I made first because all the Oilers picks were done before the draft was done. I was like, you know what, I'm getting this out of the way. Yes, alright, you can go out there and sign some players. But here's the thing, in a few years' time, when the cap trouble's even more, you're not going to even be able to spend like $1 million on a bottom six forward. You're going to have to rely on your rookie level contracts. And plus, isn't it always good to have some youth that can step up? Because think about it. Who are the Leafs going to be in the market for when it comes to bigger players with size, some toughness, and some grit? Who are they going to rely on when it comes to filling that role? They're just going to rely on 35-year-olds? What happens when those 35-year-olds retire? They're just going to keep doing the cycle? Yes, they could, but that's really not the best way because, you know, there are so many different circumstances in the way. But honestly, if they just took even one of those picks, I have heard good things about Ronnie Hirvonen. I've also heard good things about Niemela. Both of them might end up being good players. And you know what? If so, fair credit. But right now, we get to look at the power of the value of seeing what's happening right now. And as of right now, this was not a smart deal, especially considering the fact that they gave up Tyler Cleven, who is a fairly good shutdown defender, and might have been able to contribute to the Leafs sometime in the next few years. So yeah, that's a bit of a gut punch for Leafs fans. And the final deal is the LA Kings trading away pick 60 to the New York Rangers for former 7th overall pick in 2017, Lias Andersson. Lias Andersson has really struggled in New York, and he gets moved out in exchange for a second-round pick, which they then use to select William Coyle, a power forward who plays for Windsor in the OHL. Now, Lias Andersson, if he could get kind of his grips back on LA, that's a good place to do it. I mean, they could use some effective scoring depth, and if Anderson can bring that, and maybe he can resurrect his career a little bit, who knows what'll happen. But I am happy to see Lias Andersson getting a chance to revitalize his career. Hopefully he can do it. Hopefully he can rebound a little bit and become something at the NHL level. And then from there, I really just want to talk about some draft picks. Detroit kicks off the second round by selecting defender William Wallander. Not a bad pick. I've also written down here some of the more notable guys, in my opinion, that fell down that draft board a lot more than I was expecting. JJ Peterka, but I'm not good with names. He goes to Buffalo. That's a bit of a coup for the Buffalo Sabres, able to get him in the second round. I think that just adds to the value that they got in the draft. Because he was projected to go on most boards consistently mid-20s. So the fact that they got him at about mid-30s is impressive. Ryan O'Rourke going to Minnesota was something that caught my eye. That's a fairly good pick for them. They pick up a defender there. Carolina, I think, may have just picked up a future star in the making. Because I look back over the past few drafts, you have that one guy that goes in the second round who ends up being really good a couple years after, you know? In 2015, it was Sebastian Aho. In 2016, it was Alex DeBrincat. And over time, you've seen like this really good player fall into the lap of a team that really did not need him fully. I think that's what Noel Gunler is. I had this guy going in the 20s. Personally, for if I were to throw together a mock draft, I'd throw him into the mid-20s because of talent. As a matter of fact, I'd throw him even higher because I do believe he's got that talent. He falls to pick 41. Big coup for the Carolina Hurricanes, and I think also later in the draft they've picked up a lot of good players over the draft. Carolina, underrated sleeper kind of a winning team in this draft. When you look at some other players, of course, Tyler Cleveland to Ottawa, John Mysak to Montreal, and the final one I have written down here is that 3 picks before the Oilers were supposed to pick, Jeremy Poirier went to the Calgary Flames. I think that that's going to be a really good prospect to keep your eye on. And he was picked in the 3rd round too. That's a really big fall for a guy as good as that. There was a couple other fairly major fallers in this draft that I think could end up being some studs. We're really going to have to see, though. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting draft looking back in like 5 years or so. Because in 5 years, we're going to be able to look back and say, man, that guy ended up being good. That 6th rounder ended up being good. Tyler Tullio ended up being good. Please. We'll talk about Tyler Tullio tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I know this was kind of quick, but really, there wasn't much to say. Has anything else happened? There's been a couple other rumors that have came out, a couple other pieces of news that have kind of emerged. Obviously, you know, some stuff about Dylan DeMello signing his contract, obviously, just more stuff about that. The Tampa Bay Lightning did not give an offer to Carter Hagee. Congrats to Hagee for winning the Cup. Duclair's going to be a UFA, which might be a very good pickup for a team. There's going to be a lot of interesting stuff that happens over the next couple of days. This is just going to get crazier this offseason, and I'm excited to be here for the ride. Thank you all for watching. I will see you tomorrow when I make one last news roundup video on everything that's happened. Or it'll be Friday morning, one of the two. Maybe Friday morning, because I do have like 2.5 hours in between when I wake up and when my school starts. So, we'll see. Thank you all for watching. I will see you tomorrow. And, my God, this is about to be absolutely insane.